Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of My Sixth Sense. Boy, it has been a long time. Um, Life gets complicated, things get unorganized, I guess you could say. Um, Life is hectic. So I just felt it super necessary, especially with what's been going on lately, to kind of get back on this and just make an attempt to record more and put out more um, content. Um, for a minute there, I just wasn't following the news, which was actually kind of an exciting time. But it has gotten to the point where it's impossible not to. Am still politically homeless, I guess you could say. Um, I, for lack of better words, I voted for Trump. The other option was awful. It wasn't a question of who I was going to vote for, who I wasn't going to vote for, right? That there was no option to vote for Kamala. She said every wrong thing over the last 4 years of her being the vice president. It was very clear that Biden was in cognitive decline, and everyone just told me he was doing backflips in the Oval Office, and that it was complete nonsense to say otherwise. And when asked if she would change anything, she took the opportunity to say no. Everything's no, she wouldn't change a thing. On the other hand, Trump spent his time going on podcasts, which we listened to, and sitting down for hours at a time and talking and saying things that, as a guy in the middle who was willing to vote for any party, I'm not affiliated with any party, and will never be. Partly because I think that politics is all just a theatrical show, just to enrich themselves and no one else. And it's very clear that that's kind of like what's happened over the last 25 years since I've kind of been watching it. The U.S.'s debt has climbed, wars have been had, the standard of living has dropped, our money's worthless, but yet here we are fighting about which bathroom to use on a regular basis. And so when Trump went around to these podcasts, he was saying, hey, I'm going to end these wars. We're not going to have any new catastrophic wars. We're going to create Doge to cut out massive amounts of fraud. We're going to bring money back into the country. We're going to look at all these things that the independent voters really cared about. We're going to shut down the border. All of those things are things that every Democrat has said over the last like 25 years, and everything a Republican has said, except it's never been done. And over the last, even since Trump won, it just was a breath of fresh air after 4 years of an absolute disaster. So it was kind of it wasn't a no-brainer. I had a big problem with the way that he handled COVID. I had a big problem just with a lot of things that he was doing. It's sometimes very hard for me to listen to him speak, to be honest. It's his cadence that kind of drives me bonkers. But then you started seeing things like this whole bringing felony charges on misdemeanors and raiding his home and doing all these really strange things like weaponizing the justice system. It was just so apparent to everyone, except for obviously a very small majority. Not even a majority. What am I saying? A small group of people that just could not. They're what we call the leftists, right? And those people exist on the right as well. I call them boners for Trump. They just can't see anything else except for the left is criminals, and then the left says the right's criminals. It's always the same shit, different day. It's always the same thing. And it's like, these are the people that control our media. These are all the people that control what we hear all the time. So, I have a bunch of people I know that they only see one side of every argument. And that's just no way that's gotta be tough, right? That has to be super tough to live your life only on one side and be unable to criticize your own. Which I think is nearly impossible. It's like failing PE. You really have to try hard to just kind of stay on one side. And, as for these dipshits that talk about fence sitting, you guys are ridiculous. Fence sitting's okay when it comes to politics. Like, I'm okay if I am pro-choice. I am also I am a 2A guy. It's okay to like two different things, and then when someone does something on either side to criticize, it's quite okay. And it's okay to say, hey, they did a good job. Trump did a great job shutting down the border. That's kind of where it ends. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to say that it has been a long time, and I see people online. A couple of them are trolls. One looks actually kind of like a troll, but I just like to talk. I like to talk about it. I I like to fence it. It doesn't give me an option. Like, sometimes it doesn't give me an option to pick the winner. Sometimes I pick the loser. But you know what I mean? Like, I can still admit when I'm wrong. I can still admit that there are massive problems. It's crazy that people can't do that. It's crazy to me that people are still invigorated by Trump's behavior. He's completely lost his base's support. He doesn't really care because President Netanyahu, the United States of America's current president, Netanyahu, basically runs our foreign policy. Transparency. We forgot a big one there. We forgot a big one that he ran on. Transparency. Boy, did every American want some transparency. We wanted to know more about the JFK files, about RFK, about Martin Luther King, and mostly we wanted Epstein, because we, as the public, who are trying to survive in this economic environment, the Dow's over 50,000. Stupid. Survive in this economic environment. We want to know if the world is controlled and ran by people who do not play on the same field as us, who do not have to abide by laws and having sex with children. So I think that's fair. We're your little minions, like, we're the people that vote for. That's the thing, is I think they forget who they work for. I mean, you watched that Tucker interview with Mike Huckabee. We're kind of going all over the place. I'm eventually going to start with Epstein here, but that episode where he interviewed, Mike Huckabee, and really kind of an awful interview. I thought I didn't like it. It was just a bunch of back and forth. It was just some of it was very childish. I don't like it when, like, Tucker says something and it's a fact. Like, okay, I need a little more than you saying it's a fact. But when you get little tidbits from that interview, like when he asked about the war, with a possible potential war with Iran, and he says there's like 21% support. Recent polls, let's see, let's take a look. Polls. Okay, so 27% approve. He said something like 21%. It doesn't really matter. That's abysmal. But what he said was, you know what? Let's just go ahead and we can probably just pull that up really quick, because I think it's interesting. That's 16 minutes. I'm not watching a whole 16 minutes. But he asks, all right, well, regardless, he asked him, do you care what Americans think? Do you care what Americans think? Huckabee said, of course, we care very much about what Americans think. And they go, okay, well, 21% of Americans want a war with Iran. And Huckabee's response is, we just don't live in a world in which polls dictate foreign policy. And it's like, sure, but you need the public support to do this. You also need if you're going to go to war, you need Congress to approve it. And they won't if there is 27% approval rating for a war in Iran, which doesn't make any sense. And I'd kind of like to dissect that. But what we're going to talk about first is Epstein. I wanted to get to that. So Trump did run on Epstein. He did. That was one of his promises, to be more transparent. And we all interpreted it as Epstein, and we were happy to have it. in the world of politics, obviously promises mean nothing. Campaign promises mean nothing. Anything a politician says, they'll most likely do the opposite. It's interesting to me that when interviewed, Putin says in the morning, the U.S. president says one thing, usually towards peace, and by the evening, he said we're going to be sending weapons and bombing stuff. So this really has been going on since 2006, right? We'll say Epstein started in 2006. And let's see. Yes. So in in January of 2024, they were ordered to unseal the names tied to prior civil litigation. Hundreds of names released, included politicians, business leaders, academics. No criminal charges filed. This is really when the DOJ said there's millions of files sitting on Pam Bondi's desk, and she's going through them, and she just wants to be safe because, well, there are victims' names, and we don't want to re-victimize these people. Also, Kash Patel went on the Joe Rogan podcast after he was confirmed and said, don't you think if we had evidence that men were raping children that we would prosecute? Trust me, bro. We're back to trust me, bro. It's like, dude, nobody trusts you. And it turns out that Trump isn't transparent. All these MAGA boner guys, that's what I'm going to call them. So we got leftists and well, I guess Trump boners. MAGA boners, that's make America great again. But so these Trump guys, he still is. He is the most transparent president of our lifetime. Actually, he's not. He was forced to by a bipartisan supported bill that almost didn't pass because they played a whole bunch of games. And you come to find out that they did have a bunch of evidence, that they could have at least investigated this stuff. It is wild, the names, the emails, and some of them are still redacted, which, legally they're not allowed to do. It has to be completely unredacted. And I don't think we'll ever get that. I don't think that these people have to follow the law. I think that we operate obviously on a completely separate playing field when it comes to law and litigation than these people and our politicians that we elect. Obviously, I mean, if you think about insider trading, that's completely okay in DC, but Martha Stewart gets thrown in prison for it. With the names coming out and having to be through a gosh damn act of Congress, having to force them to, because it went from I have them all on my desk to releasing what we've already seen to then are we still talking about Epstein? Like, dude, I don't know who is in his ear telling him that this is okay, or that the population of the United States, his base, didn't want this. And then it was a Democratic hoax, which we know it's not. And then we don't have anything. They're gone. We don't have anything. What Epstein files, right? It's the classic like government gaslight. What files are you guys referring to? And then thanks to Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna, they had to release them, and they got caught a couple times still redacting names. And the thing is, they were just fine unredacting the names of the victims, but then redacting some names of like Lutnick. His name was Leslie Wexner. His name was listed as a co-conspirator. Why was it blacked out there, but not in the other thousands of documents? Because if it's a simple thing, if it's unredacted under co-conspirators, they're going to have to bring charges, and everyone is in on it. Because here's the thing: is they wouldn't. It's like they're almost defending. They can't say anything because if they do, if they chirp on each other, if they snitch on each other, then they're all going down. It's like, and who cares if Trump's exonerated? We'll never know. We'll never know if Clinton and Trump are best friends now. Oh yeah, Bill Clinton, the guy who flew on his plane 1,000 times and has been at the island pictured with young girls, has exonerated Trump. Yes, that's a great character witness, by the way. A great character witness to have is Bill Clinton. You might as well put Bill Cosby up there. So that right there, his approval rating plummeted. Let's just take a look after. Yeah, so he's basically underwater now, and all they can talk about, like Tim. Yes, okay. The early they keep bringing me 2019. I don't need 2019. Yeah. So anyway, so his approval rating, you saw some CNN polls, which can't really trust these, but they're underwater. And which makes a lot of sense. He is not he has not been transparent. It was all transparency up until he got, if you remember what happened, I think he was briefed in May, maybe I think May, about his name appearing in the Epstein files. And then as soon as that happened, boom, it was like, let's start a cover up, because his ego can't take a shot. That's the thing, is we need a president or some politician that just has nothing. Just is like, this is everything I've ever done. Try to blackmail me. Like there is. I do not know what to say on that. I was such a proponent of releasing the Epstein files. I thought it was insane. I'll always talk about that, because it was insane that these people were getting these people were covered up, and it was so obvious to me that these people just do not have to follow laws, and having sex with children with them is fine. And with us, you rightfully go to prison, and you will probably get killed in prison. Even murderers don't like people who mess with children. These people, it's fine. They get sweetheart deals. They don't, nothing. A lot of them are royalty. Some have been arrested, but what's the likelihood these people who have billions of dollars go to jail? Bill Clinton acted like just nothing. I mean, if you see the video, nothing. It's a big nothing burger. So that's what drives me nuts the most, is the absolute mishandling, gaslighting, non-transparent release of the Epstein files. And then we're forced to release the Epstein files, then got caught covering up the Epstein files, and then got caught redacting some of the Epstein files. And now it's just like, oh, we're done releasing them. Okay, so if they didn't follow the law, why don't you take these people to court? I don't understand that. If they break the law, why don't they go to court? And to me, what that means is they either have dirt on them, or it's this unspoken rule where people in power do not get, they just don't get to, there's no accountability. And that really leads us back to the entire problem. There is no accountability for any politician. They fail up wild. I mean, Congress's approval ratings, what is it, in the teens? All of them still have their jobs, and they ask for raises, and they get them. You know why? Because they vote on it themselves. Filthy rich. These people are filthy rich. And what have they done for any of us? Nothing super important. Just enough to keep you coming back to the voting booth to put them in power, just so you can get poorer and they can get richer, and all their friends and all their donors that control foreign policy, monetary policy, economic policy. It's all controlled by lobbyists. Just like Massey said, we are under attack from lobbyists. And if that's not obvious to you, then you've got your head in the sand, or somewhere else less fantastic, shall we say. But the Epstein thing, that was it. I was off the Trump train kind of early on there. And then really when we went to the 7-day war with Iran, it was obvious that was kind of Israeli controlled. And then when we got done, I made an episode earlier about this, but when we got done with the 7-day war, and he is sitting taking questions from the press, there are things that he says. Let's see, there's when asked, all right, so are we done here? Are we done with this? And he's like, you have to ask him. What? You're the president of the United States. Our taxpayers are paying for their ammunition in Israel. You tell them when we're done. We don't ask them like, hey, sir, are we done fighting a 7-front war for you? It's like, hey, listen, figure it out on your own. I understand it's dangerous over there. You pick that spot. I'm sorry. Our country is kind of in shambles over here. And I do not understand that. Let's see. And for example, I don't know about moving on, but Epstein was connected to some very high, powerful people in the Israeli government. They think that he was contracted by Mossad, probably an intelligence asset for multiple intelligence agencies. He had the foreign prime minister of Israel live with him. You have Netanyahu here for the last 30 years coming to the U.S. saying we're 6 months away from a bomb, and then they don't have a bomb. And then like next time he comes, they're a year away from a bomb. Generally speaking, they're months away from a bomb. He's been doing that famous iteration in 2012 at the UN when he said they're months away from a nuclear weapon. Does anyone see, again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one noticing it. It seems like people are starting to wake up. Months away from a nuclear weapon. How long ago did our DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, say there's no credible evidence that they have a nuclear weapon? And then like weeks later was like, they have one. Like they are close to enriching to 90%. That's like, you mean they had no credible threat, and then a week later they've somehow enriched well above what they were found to have after the last check? They now have 90% enrichment, and they have a bomb. They're close to a bomb. Or is it because it's one of the 7 countries that Israel wanted to take out? And this isn't a slight on the Israeli people. This is a slight on the Zionists that for some reason can't just take a chill pill and realize like this isn't working. Like they're losing support every single day. And it's the same people that keep paying or whatever they're doing. They keep shouting the same stuff that just makes it all worse. Like every time now that Turning Point says something, it's like, it's cringeworthy. I mean, Mark Levine or Levin, whatever his weird name is, every time I see his face, he's screaming about something insane. He connects to nobody that's like 30 and below. No one. He connects and doesn't, I don't know what you're doing. Same thing with Ben Shapiro. Things that worked back in the day, these false flag attacks or, like Mossad being arrested in Saudi for planting bombs. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. It's these things in the age of media and everyone carrying a phone around with them that has a camera is virtually impossible. And everybody can just kind of come together and see what everybody's thinking. People watch podcasts where it's not a 3-minute news interview where it's like you have to make up your mind in 27 seconds. It's like you have 3 hours to get you can get facts from these podcasts and they're believable. Whereas now people can post videos of how insane each publication is, like side by side. All like 20 videos of Netanyahu at the same time saying they're months away from a bomb. You have to find a way to get the narrative back if you want support. Because right now, all it looks like, I mean, the quote from Marco Rubio about it was, an Israeli-led, but we had to do it because we knew once they did, they would shoot at our people. What are we even talking about? We're not sending you any money until you can figure this out. Period. And then Huckabee's talking about, well, it creates jobs in Mississippi or wherever it is, making ammunition. It's like, oh, so you're saying war is a profitable thing and we should thank you for creating jobs. Why don't you find another way to create jobs? I mean, some of these, and then we bombed Iran in the 7-Day War. Everyone was kind of freaking out. Tucker, Dave Smith, everyone's freaking out. This is going to be a bad thing. Well, so they bombed it and they didn't have to put any boots on the ground. And, as soon as we bombed them, it was like, hey, we've done it. These brilliant Americans destroyed nuclear targets and putting back their enriching process years. Like they're just not going to get it. It's going to be a while. We've done it. Mission accomplished. Oh, and here we are. It's February. So a little under a year later. He said that in June of last year. They were completely their enrichment facilities were, in quotes, completely and totally obliterated. But now we're seconds away from receiving a bomb. Here's an idea. Here's an idea. If you don't want to tell Israel no, because you don't want to feel bad for letting down your big donors or whatever it is, move all our troops out the area. So if they want to fight, they can all fight. But you're about to lock into another insane war over absolutely nothing. Israel's killed more people, Americans, than Iran has. Iran is not a threat to the U.S. When they say threat to the U.S., they mean our bases in the Middle East. They don't mean a threat to our homeland. They don't have it. I mean, we're not falling for this again. This is like 2 weeks to slow the spread. Trust me, bro. So let me just like recap here for a second. You've got the Trust Me Bro, Cash Patel, who's drinking beer and partying with the U.S. hockey team. Congratulations, U.S. By the way, that gold medal game was amazing. Cash Patel is in their locker room. Meanwhile, the Epstein file debacle is still ongoing, and you can't find Virginia Guthrie's mom, who we've got the most sophisticated intelligence scheme the world has ever known outside of Israel. And we just can't find an elderly lady who needs a pacemaker. That's wild behavior. You got Pan Bondi going in front of Congress or the Senate. It doesn't matter anymore. They're the same damn thing. I guess it's Congress because Massey was asked her questions. She didn't answer basically a single question. She just started shrieking and shouting. And if anybody thinks that that's appropriate, you deserve whatever. That's crazy. You and me didn't watch the same thing. It's so funny when I'm scrolling down Facebook and people are like, "Oh, like Pam Bondi smoked Massey." It's like, dude, what were you watching? Are you like nothing? 41%, 41% of America does not have an investment account of some sort or invested in the stock market. So who gives a shit about the Dow being 50,000? You mean your rich donors? Congratulations, they're richer now. Woo! Okay, now back to the demonic pedophiles. Even when Massey's like, hey, like, I figured it out. Like, why did you do this? And she's like, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. It's like, these people cannot be honest for a second. They cannot take responsibility for anything. It would almost be refreshing. It would almost be refreshing if these people were honest for a change. I mean, like seriously, if they were like, what happened here? And she was like, yeah, I'm really sorry. What happened was we got it from the FBI. It was redacted after it left the FBI. Whatever the reason is, whatever it is, just listen. We're working our very hardest to get this to you. Like, the American people deserve transparency. But what we got was a bunch of screaming, a bunch of yelling, a bunch of name calling, a bunch of blame shifting from everyone involved. From the president, it's top down from everybody. We got all of that. We got it's obviously a cover up. That's not even a question at this point. It's the biggest fumble in cover up history. And then the whole thing with Massey, he's got Trump derangement syndrome. It's so interesting, the left and the right dynamic, because here's the thing. The right, when Biden was in, was like, these leftists are brainwashed. Okay. Are you the pot, the kettle? Which one are you? Anything, I even said this too, anything the left says about the right is they're all just all of it. It's all hypocritical. It's all one show. And it's there to provide wealth for everyone else, and not people. If you're just wondering why, for example, the homeless problem in your state, if you're in California, is so bad, and you can't understand why they've given like billions of dollars to clean up the homeless problem. They don't want the homeless problem to go away because then they stop getting money. They could very well solve that, but they don't, because they're NGOs, and the NGOs don't want to run out of money. It's a super easy idea. All these people get paid for this problem. Why would they solve it? It's just like my daughter who has type 1 diabetes. Why would they cure it when it's like insulin's like a $7 trillion a year business? These pharmaceuticals, these politicians, these NGOs, it's just like one big fraud that never solves anything, and everybody's promoted for failure. The guy who's in charge of the water in where is it? Is it Virginia now? DC, the district. This guy's in charge of the water when it's dumping sewage into the Potomac, can't swim, can't fish. Guess where he came from? He was in charge of the Flint problem. These people, the guy who dealt with Flint, Michigan, who was in charge then, is now in charge in DC, and now sewage is dumping into the water in the Potomac. Now, do you see what I'm saying? You're failing up. And it doesn't matter because it enriches him. He's got a better paying job, and he's more prominent. And if you question it, we're not going to get into that, but that becomes a black person, white person problem for some reason instead of just competency. I don't understand that one at all. But back to this cover up. You have people who are legitimately concerned, like Thomas Massey, and I thought it was great that he reached across the aisle to Ro Khanna and got some support. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Marjorie MTG has been on fire lately with independents and libertarians alike. Because here's the thing: is she was the whole MAGA movement. Like, I know that that word, that phrase enrages people. I don't really understand it. I'd really like America to be wonderful again. I don't know. Everyone's going to say, well, when was it wonderful? Like, shut up. I want to be able to buy a house for 6 wampum and then sell it for $5 million like my parents did. You know, they didn't make that much money, but you get what I'm saying. They didn't trade in Native American goods either. That being said, when he hopped across, Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying all the things like, bring that money home, invest it in schools. Let's look into the COVID thing. Let's look into the Epstein thing. Let's look into all this fraud. And everyone's like, oh, you hate Trump. And it's like, no, like that's what Trump said. She was his biggest fan, biggest cheerleader. And then he just went off the reservation. And all the Trump boners stuck with Trump, and all of the regular people, that put him there, definitely wasn't Republican voters. It was independents and minorities in this country, went away because it's very obvious he is either being dog walked by another country, wink, wink, nod, nod. I think we know who. And for example, Doge gone. He didn't ratify the Doge cuts. In fact, he resupplied them with fresh cash. Ukraine, that's not over. Day one, right? That was a day one. I'll get this done. I know that was a figure of speech, but bro, it's been a year. We haven't heard anything from it. In fact, you've sent more weapons over there. I'm sure more cash. I need to honestly look into that. Definitely send an aid package over there. Because it's apparently, not as easy as you said, which it should be. It should be super easy. Israel, Gaza. You got that done, except for Israel keeps bombing Gaza because they just come up with like whatever excuse they want to launch missiles at hospitals and stuff. So that's not solved. Epstein, that's not finished. COVID, that's not even looked at. So what are we talking? I do want to say he did a great job locking down the border. Now, I don't know what the actual heck is happening with ICE. I don't understand why people are impeding their jobs. They're going to make mistakes. They made mistakes when Obama did it. The comparison is just, it has to be said. Every president of my lifetime, except for the one who wasn't mentally present, had strong borders and talked about them and used ICE to their capacity. Communities helped ICE. I mean, this is a big mess. And it's the irony of these well-funded protests. And it's obviously not just grassroots. It's obviously well-planned and well-orchestrated. So to think that this is just like a bunch of people rising up to fight ICE. You had a place in Minnesota. They were mad because ICE was coming and asking for people's papers to prove their citizenship. These idiots set up a checkpoint. Whoever they are, these communist people set up checkpoints to check papers. So they created a border and were checking papers. Now, you can't see what I'm looking at right now, but I'm looking right at you. Like, are we joking? The irony. It's all show. It's all orchestrated. It's all false flags. It's all everything. I'm not saying... I don't know what to do. I got a comment on Facebook the other day about this, I always post political stuff, and I didn't think Trump was going to do it. Dude, I hadn't voted since Obama won, and I voted for Obama because he said he was going to close Gitmo and get us out of Afghanistan, and he did neither of them. Reinvaded Iraq. So I stopped voting. I didn't vote for Trump won. I didn't vote for Biden, and I definitely voted for Trump this time. So if that's how you kind of want to like work it, then you've all been duped. All of you, every single one of you. If you voted in the last, 15 years, 16 years, whatever it's 16 years, you've all been duped. It's just the first time I've gotten duped in over 8 years. And I'm not saying like I have the capacity to say like, listen, I was wrong. I was very skeptical at the very beginning. If you listen to all of my content, very skeptical. I did not like the way he handled COVID, and I did not like Operation Warp Speed. I didn't think it worked. And you come to find out, I mean, the plan worked, but the vaccine didn't. And that was kind of the big thing. And then he printed trillions and trillions of dollars and told people to stay home. And then guess who just kept doing that? The next administration. Ruined the largest transfer of wealth in human history took place. Was it planned? Was it orchestrated? I don't know, but that's what happened. That's why a lot of our money's worthless. That's why people can't buy a home until they're in their 40s. No one wants to get married. It's too expensive to have children. And then we look to our government to supply us with some type of like, no, we can't look at our government. They're a bunch of dumbasses. You know where we look? To hockey teams at the Olympics, which is great. It's a great thing to be proud of your country. Nationalism is sometimes a great thing. The men's and women's hockey team brought us all together. It was kind of like the day after September 11th, where it didn't matter who you were. It was national pride. Like, this happened to us. Like, we're gonna get the person who did this. So what did the government do? We went to Iraq. What did the 9/11 report say? Well, a lot of it was redacted. Left out the parts the Mossad agents were dancing on the roof, and we knew about it for some time. But yeah, it's like, it's good to feel that way. But politics doesn't make you feel that way. It makes you feel like we're lost. Like no matter which way you turn, you lose. Every politician gets captured. Every politician is assassinated. Charlie Kirk was assassinated in broad daylight. And, believe Candace Owens, don't believe Candace Owens. It's worth a listen. She really is digging into this. And I hope some of my best friend does if I die under, strange circumstances. But there was a lot of issues with that whole thing. Tons. A lot of people said he was going to be president and that he could bring people together. Who knows? But I do know this. Politics is one big show. And all it is meant to is divide you left and right. Well, now there's a center. Now there's the fence sitters. And we'll call the fence morality. How about that? You sit on some type of morality, and if in your mind going to war with a country that doesn't pose any threat to us and losing soldiers and Marines and just service members in general, and you think that that's a bad idea for us right now, it's okay to just be like, it's a bad idea. This is a bad idea. It's not really a hard moral stance to take. Dying and killing our own people is bad. For what outcome? Maybe the last 11 wars, we got it all wrong. But maybe this one, dude, this one's going to be it. Just like Charlie said, maybe Libya, Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia. Maybe all those, they just got it wrong. But this time we're right. Dude, we don't trust you. And there's more than enough reason to say that. There's more than enough reason to say that we don't trust you. And if you don't like conspiracy theories and people digging into stuff, be truthful. Because when you lie, don't say anything, and are sketchy, the void that gets filled there is with conspiracies. And it's even worse when these conspiracies end up being true. So then people just say, well, everything's got to be a conspiracy and truthful now. It's like, dude, we haven't heard anything about the Charlie Kirk thing. We haven't heard anything about the assassination attempt in Butler. Nothing. People are too scared. We need someone to step up. We need someone who's got nothing to lose. That's what it is. and just go in the White House, and when they show a picture of your family and you're like, hey, listen, do what we want, or they're gone, be like, they're gone. I know that's a tough one. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what it's going to take. It's going to take someone who's got nothing to lose and some type of moral fabric, moral fiber in their being. Anyway, for all you Trump boners out there, Godspeed, God bless you. It's tough. It's tough keeping up with him. It's tough. He's doing dipshit stuff all day long, every day, something new. You know, maybe it's Trump Zionists. Maybe that's what we call them. I don't know. Leftists, you're a bunch of dipshits too. You don't get off this easy. You sat for 4 years, well, longer than that, 12 years, and let this happen and said everything was okay and that we were the crazy ones, or the right was the crazy. You both are nuts. You both have issues. You both are in the Epstein files. You both are pedophiles. You both are warmongers. You both enrich yourselves while your people get poorer and poorer and poorer and blame everybody but yourselves. You make the laws. And, that is a depressing thing to talk about. It really is. But that's the God's honest truth. Now, I went and visited my folks the last week, and my father, he is so red-pilled, it's tough to have conversations with. Saw something on TV while I was sitting there on my phone. He was listening to the news, and it was loud, and it was talking about AI, an AI program that the DOD and the Pentagon were using, and the owners of this AI system said that they did not want the Pentagon to use it as a final check to launch weapons and missiles. They thought that was too dangerous to let a machine learning technology make the final call on whether or not a missile is launched. And you hear that out loud and you're like, well, yeah, it's a no-brainer. But then, and the thing is, we can both agree on that. Me and my dad can agree on that. But then as soon as the next thing comes on, Trump's like, it's a radical left company and our warriors need this. It's like, oh, now Trump said it. So it's like, ugh. Well, yes, of course. So then it turned out, now he's calling me, he's like, you're a Democrat. Because I'm like, Dad, we just heard the same thing. We reacted the same way. But now that Trump's saying it's like stupid and that they're a left-wing company, now the sentence before does make sense. Like now machines should make that decision. I mean, I know there's a little bit more to it, but I'm using that example because it's a good one. It's like, we just saw something. We just heard it. We both agree that this is not a good idea. But now Trump says this company is a radical left company and that the Pentagon needs this. Now we're a good little soldier and we north-south, and anyone who disagrees with that, like he turned to me like, you sound like a Democrat. It's like, if I sound like a Democrat, that's just fine with me. I don't care. I don't care what you call me. I could care less. But that being the example, it's all show and it's all meant to divide. And the boomers, they fall for it 20 out of 20 times, 10 out of 10 times. People are starting to wake up and realize like this is all just a show and a scam. And it's meant to, again, divide, enrage, and just pillage your pockets. More money. We need more money. I hope you understand that. I hope this first week back, we have a lot going on. We'll stay tuned for what's going on in Iran. I pray for those people and I pray for everybody involved that would just keep a level head and talk this out. And it's just becoming more and more and more obvious that, well, it is not. I think Marco Rubio said it this afternoon or yesterday or this morning, where it was like, it's Israel's war that we're getting involved in. And it's like, okay, we don't have to. Let's just sit this one out. Let's sit this one out and heal as a country or just something. Let's not send our boys to die for absolutely no reason. Lest we forget we are losing more to suicide coming back from war than in the war. It's devastating. And for what? Weapons of mass destruction? Who told us about the weapons of mass destruction? Wink, wink, nod, nod, Israel. Who told us that it would be the greatest idea ever? It would spread democracy far and wide if we took out Saddam Hussein. Who said that? And then Yahoo did. Look what happened. It's a shame. Anyway, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to try to get back on a schedule. I'll be traveling later in the week. Listen, leave a comment. Let me know what you want to hear. If you guys want to, anybody wants to come on and chit chat, I'd love to have you. Anybody. To be completely honest, I'm not going to pay you. There's one dumbass that I deal with on Facebook. He really doesn't have a life, family, or partner, kids, nothing. So he spends his time wearing a red hard hat and looking like an idiot. But other than that guy, well, even if that guy did want to come on, I'm not going to pay you. It's just a chit chat. This is a hobby. Anyway, have a great week, guys.